I never thought losing a stupid bet could ruin my peace of mind. Or maybe it didn't ruin it, maybe it just rearranged it into something I couldn't recognize anymore. It started after the homecoming game at Lincoln High. The bleachers were still half full, buzzing with the scent of sweat, popcorn, and ego. Noah Parker, the team's golden boy, had just won the game with a last-minute three-pointer. And I, being stupid enough to run my mouth, promised I'd do anything if our rival team lost. They did. And apparently, anything meant kissing him. In front of everyone. The crowd roared like it was a scene from a teen movie. Someone even recorded it. My friends chanted. Noah just stood there, his smirk stretching wider than the gym itself, like he'd been waiting for this all along. I thought he'd laugh it off. Instead, when I leaned in for a quick, humiliating peck, he grabbed my hoodie and deepened it slow, confident, and way too real. That kiss didn't end when the crowd stopped cheering. Followed me home, into my dreams, into the way my stomach twisted every time I saw him in the hallways after that. Noah wasn't supposed to notice me. I wasn't one of the jocks or the popular kids or even the talkative kind. I was just the art club kid who drew in the back row, trying to get through senior year without becoming a meme. But after that kiss, it was like he'd unlocked some invisible thread that now tied us together. The next Monday, he found me sketching by the bleachers. "Hey, Picasso," he said, leaning against the railing, sweat still glistening on his neck from practice. "You draw that kiss yet?" I rolled my eyes. "You planning to autograph it?" He grinned. "Maybe. Thought I should see if it's accurate." I wanted to tell him off, to wipe that cocky look off his stupidly symmetrical face. But I couldn't, because underneath the teasing, his voice wasn't mocking, it was curious, interested, like he wanted to understand what that kiss meant as much as I did. The days that followed were a blur of stolen glances and weird moments that shouldn't have mattered but did. He'd sit next to me at lunch even when his friends called him over. He'd wait outside art class with some lame excuse about needing help with a project. And every time, I'd tell myself he was just bored. But then he'd look at me with that same spark from the gym, the one that said he wasn't done with me yet. Then came the night of the storm. The power went out during basketball practice, and somehow, I ended up helping coach stack up equipment. Noah was there too, shirt clinging to his chest, hair dripping rainwater from where he'd run in from the court. When we were the only ones left in the locker room, silence filled the space between thunderclaps. He sat on the bench, elbows on his knees, eyes on me. "You ever think about it?" he asked quietly. "Think about what?" "The kiss." I froze. "You mean the one that was supposed to be a joke?" "Yeah, that one." His tone was different, no teasing, no grin, just raw honesty. "Because I can't stop." The air thickened. I wanted to look away, but I didn't. Something about the way he said it, like he'd been carrying that truth around for weeks, broke through my walls. "You're kidding," I muttered. He stood, closing the space between us until I could feel the heat radiating off his skin. "Do I look like I'm kidding?" I didn't know what to say. My heart was pounding, my brain was screaming, and yet, when he reached out to brush a strand of wet hair from my forehead, all I could do was breathe him in the scent of rain and soap and something reckless. For a moment, the world went silent. Then the lights flickered back on. He pulled back, just enough to whisper, "Tell me you didn't feel it too." Couldn't, because I did. And that terrified me. From that night on, things changed. Not publicly, no one would ever guess that the school star athlete and the quiet art student were dancing around something that wasn't supposed to exist. But every hallway glance, every accidental touch, every conversation that lingered too long, it built a world only we knew about. Still, Noah was bold in ways I wasn't ready for. He didn't hide the way his eyes followed me. He didn't care who saw him talking to me after class. I kept pulling away, but he kept showing up with that same grin, that same spark that made it impossible to ignore him. "You're scared," he told me one afternoon when we were sitting behind the bleachers. "I'm not," I lied. He smiled softly. "Yeah, you are. You think this'll mess up your life. But what if it's the only thing that makes it real?" His words lingered long after he left. I wish I could say I figured it out right then, that his words were enough to make me brave. But courage doesn't come in clean, cinematic moments. It comes in the quiet ones, when you're alone and every part of you is screaming to run. For weeks, I avoided him. I skipped art club meetings where he liked to accidentally show up. I took the long way home, ignored his messages, and told myself that it was better this way. That whatever this thing was between us, confusion, obsession, maybe something more would fade if I just starved it of attention. Except it didn't. Every time I saw him across the hallway, laughing with his friends, I felt it, that pull, like a thread tugging at the edge of my chest, reminding me that no matter how far I ran, he was still there, waiting. It all came crashing down the night of the state finals. Lincoln High had made it to the championship, their first in 10 years. The gym was electric, filled with banners, chants, and the echo of sneakers against hardwood. I was in the stands, sketchbook in hand, pretending I didn't care, pretending my eyes weren't tracking Noah's every move. He was brilliant that night, focused, fierce, alive. And yet, every time the whistle blew, his gaze flicked toward the bleachers, toward me. By the final quarter, the score was tied. 10 seconds left. The ball was in his hands. He dribbled once, twice, then shot. The crowd erupted. Lincoln won. The gym exploded in cheers and confetti. People rushed the court. I stood frozen, smiling despite myself. Then he saw me. He didn't go to his team, didn't join the celebration. He walked straight through the crowd, sweaty, radiant, eyes locked on mine. And before I could process it, he grabbed me and kissed me. Right there, in front of everyone. The noise around us dissolved. For the first time, I didn't care who saw. I didn't care about whispers or judgment or how messy it all was. His hands trembled slightly against my neck, and I realized he wasn't fearless. Not really. He was just done hiding. When he pulled back, breathless, he whispered, "Still think it was just a joke?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The world didn't implode after that. There were whispers, sure, some laughter, a few nasty comments online, but mostly life went on. People moved on to new gossip, new scandals, new distractions. Except for us. We started seeing each other more openly. Not in a loud, look-at-us way, but in small, quiet ways that mattered. Sitting together at lunch. Studying at the library. Long walks after practice. He'd tease me less and listen more. I'd sketch him sometimes, though he always said I made him look too serious. "I like you better when you smile," I'd tell him. "Then keep giving me reasons to," he'd reply. But love, if that's what it was, isn't all light and laughter. There were arguments. Nights when I questioned whether I could handle it, the pressure, the stares, the fear of being too different in a world that still didn't know what to do with people like us. One night, I told him maybe we should slow down. That maybe the world wasn't ready. He looked at me for a long time, eyes full of hurt. "You really think this is about the world?" I swallowed hard. "Noah." He shook his head, a humorless laugh escaping. "You think I risked everything, my friends, my team, my image, just to play pretend? You think this is a phase for me?" I didn't know how to answer because the truth was, I was scared. Scared of how much I wanted him. Scared that if I said it out loud, it would somehow make it real, and real things can break. He took a step closer. "I don't care what anyone says. You're it for me. You've been it since that damn kiss." His voice cracked on the last word, and something inside me finally gave in. I reached for him, slow, hesitant, and for the first time, I didn't pull away. That night, we didn't talk much. We just lay there, side by side on the hood of his car under a sky scattered with stars, our shoulders brushing. The air was cool, and the town lights glowed faintly in the distance. For the first time in months, I felt calm, whole. Graduation came faster than either of us expected. He got a basketball scholarship. I got into an art school 2 states away. We promised to visit, to call, to make it work. And even though part of me doubted it, distance, time, change, another part of me believed him. Because Noah Parker wasn't the kind of person who said things he didn't mean. On the last night before I left, he showed up at my door with his old basketball in one hand and a folded piece of paper in the other. "What's that?" I asked. He smiled softly. "Insurance." Inside was a sketch I'd drawn months ago, the one of our first kiss, the one I swore I'd thrown away. Across the bottom, in his messy handwriting, were 5 words. Don't let this fade away. I looked up at him, throat tight. You kept this. Of course I did, he said. It's where it all started. He leaned in then, kissing me one last time, not desperate, not rushed, just slow and certain. The kind of kiss that didn't ask for promises, only understanding. When he pulled back, his eyes were glassy but steady. Go be great, Picasso. I'll still be here when you come back. And somehow I believed him. Months later, I found myself sitting in a small apartment in New York, sketchbook open, sunlight streaming across the page. On the corner of my desk sat that same old drawing, faded at the edges, still smelling faintly of sweat and gym dust. I smiled, tracing the line of his face with my pencil. The boy who started as a dare, a bet, a joke had somehow become the one person who made me feel seen. Love doesn't always come the way you expect. Sometimes it starts with a bet, a smirk, and a kiss you can't forget. But if you're lucky, it ends with something real, something that stays, even when everything else fades. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.